Hi, everybody. My name is Joel Paikin. I'm your director for Rural Ministries. And I think let's start with our seminarian first. So, you are?
I am Juliana Jimenez, second year MDiv student at Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Excellent.
I worked at camp for 5 summers, and it was in that place that I heard the call.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, and camp was Outlaw Ranch?
Outlaw Ranch in Custer, South Dakota.
Man, we might get back to that because there's some really lovely and unique things that are happening there that enabled 5 summers with the pandemic in the middle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which I think is really formative for the resilience of this place that we are, right? Yeah, okay, all right. So, next to you.
I'm John Rasmussen, and I'm from Sisseton, South Dakota, a member of Grace Lutheran Church.
Excellent. And that's where we are. We're in the chapel at Grace Lutheran Church, which is a room that I wasn't in last time I was here. So this is really lovely. Okay. And?
I'm Deb Wolf, and I live in Sisseton, and I'm the parish secretary.
Excellent. Thanks, Deb.
And I'm Jane Rasmussen, also from Sisseton and a member of Grace Lutheran.
Excellent.
I'm Josh Knutson. I'm pastor of Grace Lutheran Church for about 4 years now. I'm originally from Rapid City, so South Dakota is home to me.
Wow.
Love it here in Sisseton.
Yeah, cool. All right. And?
I'm Rhonda Burish from Sisseton, and my journey began at Bible camp many years ago.
Is there a name to the Bible camp?
It would be Nisadak.
Nisadak, right around the corner. All right, very, very cool. So another one of our Lutherans Outdoors camps.
Yep.
And for me too, I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and Camp Luther in the longest chain of freshwater lakes in North America. Camp Luther sat on one of those lakes, and so that was where I went as a kid growing up in northern Wisconsin. So very cool. Yeah, Bible camps are amazing.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. All right. So the reason why we're all here at Grace Sisseton is because Juliana just had a rural immersion experience through Wartburg Seminary, which is both a class and kind of just a unique experience, and it's 3 Sundays. So the program is really loose and you kind of get to make it what you want to make it, right? But it's 3 consecutive Sundays putting a student into an experience in a rural congregation. And that's really what it is. So I'm kind of curious about how it went and what everyone's kind of experience of this was. And I don't know if somebody wants to go first. And if there's long pauses, I'll just cut them out, and it'll make it sound like everyone was just eager to go. So, I don't, Pastor Josh, when I put you on the spot, like how did this is the first time that the congregation has done this, and so how did it go? And what was?
I think it was at Synod Assembly where you talked about the possibility of seminarians coming to rural places in South Dakota, and you need congregations who are willing to host them. And I said, sign me up. I'd love to have a seminarian come to Grace Lutheran in Sisseton. And you did. You were true to your word and contacted me months later and said, hey, Juliana has signed up for this class and she's coming to Grace in Sisseton. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Right, yeah. Well, and so originally this was conceived of as a January term program, right? And that's true that Juliana is our 4th student who has done this, and 3 of them have been in January. Now we also have expanded it to other seasons, and so we've had a student out. I should just name the other congregations that have been part of this because they've all had really great experiences too, but I haven't had the opportunity to do this kind of conversation. So other congregations in South Dakota that have hosted seminarians in this program are Grand River out in Buffalo, South Dakota, our congregation in Hill City. It might be Hill City Lutheran. No, it's Community Lutheran.
Community.
There it is. All right. See, this is where we get to actually edit out. And I get to sound smarter than I am. It's Community Lutheran in Hill City. They've hosted a student. And Our Savior's Weston Springs. And now Grace Sisseton. And part of the reason for doing this conversation is because we want to have more students kind of get engaged with this program because I think it's really good and lovely. But we also want to have other congregations get engaged in this. And so, all right, so I called you up and said, Juliana's going to come student at Wartburg Seminary, and you are a graduate of Wartburg?
I am. I'm a Wartburg graduate. 2016, I graduated from there.
All right.
Coming up on 10 years.
All right. Yep.
But I got this call that Juliana was coming, and I knew right away we needed to find a place for her to stay and a way for her to get around Sisseton. And so John and Jane have connections with the Arts Council in Sisseton. So I was able to arrange housing right away through the Arts Council here, a place for her to live, and I had an extra vehicle that she could use while she was here. And then we started brainstorming. And I put word out to the council and to the congregation and said, Juliana's coming to be with us for a few weeks. What could she do? What do you need to see in a rural place? What does a rural pastor need to know? How could she get some experiences out in our community, not just here at the church, but get to know this part of the state, this context for ministry? What does that look like? And so together we started brainstorming. And when Juliana first got here, we made a big long list. I think there was 12 or 15 things.
Yeah, we make a list of this is what is going on in the next 2 weeks. Let's pick the priorities. Like, what do you really want to do?
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's a really great way to go because then you get buy-in from everybody. And okay.
There was no way we were going to get everything that we thought of done.
Course.
You know, in a 2-week period, you just can't learn everying there is to know or see everything there is to see. But we picked some priorities, and we got all our priorities and extras on top of that. But we had wonderful experiences talking with people. And Juliana told me right away she wanted to talk to people and say, how does your faith impact your life? What does it mean to live out your faith in this place?
Yeah, right on. Okay. All right. So, well, then I think I need to naturally go over here. Okay, so Juliana, so what could you, if you were to think about those conversations, is there one that sticks out? Just like that you could share, right? Sometimes those faith conversations are intimate and personal, and they're not for this venue. But is there one that you think you could share in this kind of?
I'm gonna collect because I heard the same thing in topic in all of them.
Great. This is a synopsis of multiple.
The sharing love and sharing God's Jesus' message in your daily, and like my question was about like how is your faith guiding you in your every day, every moment in life. It was kind of like aiming like how do you see it as, and it was like the answers were toward that of I just love and care for my neighbor, and I see everybody as God's children, and their daily jobs are not just jobs, are a way to care and show that love. And is you have like that ethic and moral doing your job, but also you have like this God call and God guidance of I'm doing this because I love it, because I really want to make a good impact in people, and I really want people to see how God is acting in their lives, even if they don't believe. So like that was like a to not reveal the personal conversations we had, but what I saw and what I heard, and I found that beautiful. And it's like one of the biggest characteristics that we share in the core of like the members of the church have a strong identity. They know who they are. They know who are they worshiping and what is the message, and they live it. And that's just like having those conversations in different scenarios. It was just kind of like, wow.
Yeah, cool.
This is wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay. All right. So I'm a little curious now of the rest of you to ask you what were your experiences, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit in front of Juliana, right? But also just your experiences maybe because the way that you and I relate is going to be different in the context of a new person like Juliana, right? That it helps us understand the thing, this is something I really value because I'm meeting someone from a different community, right? So if you could just reflect over the last 3 weeks, because Juliana's last Sunday was yesterday, right? What were some things that kind of came out for you in your experience, maybe of Juliana and she as your seminarian who is doing this rural immersion, but maybe also for just you as you reflect upon what are the values that, this is something that's really lovely about this place or how I interact with Grace Lutheran Church of Sisseton? Is there something that comes to mind?
I think I'll say that in December or whenever Pastor Josh mentioned that Juliana was going to come, it was really exciting to hear because this was something we hadn't done before. Sometimes after the holidays are over, things kind of flatten out and it's like, oh, we really have something to look forward to in January. So that was exciting. And I also sensed the first Sunday that we met Juliana, just this really genuine curiosity that you have in you. And that was refreshing, and it did help us, right away to realize that she was here to share in what we do and how do we open up to her. But you made it so easy. And then thinking both about our church and community, what things can we do? What can we do together during that time? And then I just want to comment on that question that you asked. I think about, sometimes in life, you might be approached with that question, how does your faith inspire you? But again, I guess I just have to use that word genuine. You listen so well, and when you asked that question, it was really inviting. Like, I want to answer that. I don't feel like I'm being put on the spot and expected to give some appropriate answer. I think I can just say, I'm really thinking about what you're asking now, and I want to be able to tell you that. So I think that you brought a really refreshing life to this cold.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, okay, good. So we should probably mention, right, that Juliana, you come from a place that doesn't typically see below zero temperatures.
Correct.
And you were here during a particularly cold spell. Like, it's one of the coldest, long cold spells that South Dakota has seen in quite a few winters.
Congratulations.
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah,
And I made it.
You made it. You weathered it, right? All the fingers and toes are still attached, right?
Ears are intact.
Right. So for someone who is maybe like, I don't know if I want to go to rural South Dakota in January, right? It's unique.
It is, the cold was nothing.
Okay.
There was a night that it was really cold and my apartment was cold, and I knew that I can share it. Just
right.
like, this happened, can you help me? And then right away, Jen called, hey, this apartment is really cold, can you come and check? And they went. So I wasn't worried about it.
Yeah, good.
It was just, it's part of life.
Right.
And I lived it. And now I know how it is. I experience it, and I've been saying I want to come and serve in South Dakota if God calls me here, right? So I know I prepare to what is like how winter in South Dakota is going to be in a very north part, and just knowing that there is people like I'm not gonna be alone. You're not gonna be alone.
That's part of the mutual support of a congregation and their clergy, right? Whether it's pastor or deacon or seminarian, right? Intern or vicar, or whatever these different roles that we have, minister, synod authorized minister, right? There is a mutual support for our ministers, whatever those ministers' titles are, and the congregation, and that's you've lived into that, right? And that's an important thing to mention. Maybe the other important thing to mention is that you are a candidate in the South Dakota Synod, right? So in the beginning we talked about, right, that you came in, you were familiar with the Lutheran Church in your home country. You came into to South Dakota via our camps, and you were a counselor for 5 summers with the pandemic in the middle, and you came back. And I do want to mention that that's a resiliency that our camps are embracing, or they're fostering this resiliency, right? Because I don't think that's been all of our camp ministries across the country had that same experience that you experienced at Outlaw. Because it wasn't just you and international staff, but it was South Dakotans and people who grew up going to the camps and then were becoming counselors at that age. And so there were multiple people, right, who were staff both before and after the pandemic. And so you had this cohort of people, and it was really, I mean, that speaks to the resiliency of this place, but also the community that you formed together as a cohort, right? And in some ways, right, you experience kind of the best of what congregational life is like at camp. In my kind of window into it, right, as I saw you over those 5 summers.
And yeah, like you have people at camp who are really passionate and caring, and doesn't matter how we have this plan, we have this idea, we don't have the resources, but we're gonna find them, we're gonna do it, let's just trust. And that what you're describing at camp is what I saw here, and I said it in my sermon yesterday. It's just like, you call it not a budget, but it's mission plan. Mission plan. And it's like, this is our mission plan. This is what we want to do. God will provide. And the assembly was like fast because Jesus came. You know what is going to happen. You're trusting, like they're trusting, and they're just like, let's do it.
So,
just
okay.
like we know our mission. Let's do it.
I got to ask you this question, right? So when we put this together, we didn't necessarily, it didn't occur to me, right, that we would be bringing in a seminarian who maybe hadn't experienced a congregational annual meeting. Was this your first annual meeting of a congregation that you had experienced?
A U.S. congregation?
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Okay,
Yes.
see? And so that's one of the benefits of coming in January, because most of our congregations have an annual meeting in January. And so you got to sit through that experience and say, it's not a budget, it's a mission plan.
And you get
Right.
to hear all the concerns and all the preparation that comes before that.
Right.
And like how important it is to trust and rely in your leaders of the church, and how important it is to support and care and talk and see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Because you as a pastor cannot do it alone.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
need the leaders of the congregation. You need those voices. You need the assistance of someone who is keep telling you, like, please have this by this day, otherwise it's not going to happen.
Did I see you kind of gesture towards Deb here?
Not judging, like
No, not a judgment at all. No, this is good, right?
Yes.
We need each other to keep each other on, right?
And every person here knows that I will send them an email and say, I needed this yesterday. So.
Yeah. Good. All right. So, all right. What's been your experience of these last couple of weeks, Deb?
It's just fun having Juliana around. She asks questions and she listens to the answers, and she's very concerned about what's going on. She was busy doing a lot of visiting, so she didn't have a lot of time that we actually spent talking. But 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and she just has done a really good job, and you can tell that she's very, very interested in what she's learning.
I was thinking, Jane, when you were sharing, and I'm reminded of it, that now, as you shared, Deb, that curiosity is contagious, right? And that sometimes, maybe it's even a function of our winter seasons, right? That we become a little bit sheltered and put on all the layers. And there's a physicality, right, of winter that says we got to protect ourselves. But there's something about curiosity when we encounter it in one another that opens us up and helps us unbutton a little bit and, right, just share, be different. And sometimes winter, yeah, I like being warm. I was outside a lot over these last couple of days, and so, yeah, I had layers and layers and layers on. So, yeah.
I, like Jane, thought it was really refreshing to have the questions that she asked. Because I think that as the winter months come, we can be really complacent in our faith. And to have someone say to you, why do you believe? Why do you? What is your faith about? And we had the background of snowshoes in C.T. Hollow in what was it, 40-degree weather? And it was wonderful.
You went snowshoeing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
She came Sunday. I looked at the weather and I thought, if we're going to go, this is it. I mean, it was spur of the moment, and borrowed a set of snowshoes from John and Jane, and she was game. I had a pair of snow boots that fit her, and away we went.
That's
And
great.
so it was. I appreciated it, and came back thinking, after we parted, do I live this? Do people see my faith? Because you do get kind of complacent in your life, and it was just challenging to me. So you gave to me, hopefully I gave back to you something other than snowshoes and and cold.
And amazing memory.
Yeah. And she is very, very comfortable asking
Yeah.
you about things. She's very easy to talk to. So I appreciate that she was here.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Good.
the time.
Well, now we haven't heard from John yet, and John's the guy I think I know maybe the best in this group, because John and I work together on the small town and rural task force for the Synod, and so we're on that task force together. And so, and this work that I'm doing, and the work that financially supports the rural ministry Immersion, is through the Journeying Together in Christ initiative. And so we have funding for students to have these experiences right now through the end of 2027. So the Lilly Foundation has its support with us through December of 2027. And we really want more students to have these experiences. And so that's one of the reasons we're talking about this. But I also, John, just wanted to ask you about kind of your experiences, both because you're on this task force that we're on together, right? And rural congregations here in the Synod, right? I'm glad for you just to share your experiences, but also kind of maybe a word of encouragement for others who might want to have a student come and experience their community.
Yeah, I think too many times people in seminary think that, I'd go to South Dakota and serve in a rural community like Sioux Falls, and they discount these wonderful smaller communities,
Sure,
that are faith communities, and that's been like Juliana said to me, like, I want to know your stories, But those small faith communities in rural areas have been the story of the Lutheran Church in South Dakota. And coming onto the prairie and establishing a home site and establishing a congregation, we live by faith. And it's just like a mission plan in a church at an annual meeting. And we're so happy you got to be at the annual meeting. It's kind of like the Super Bowl of the Lutheran Church. Right. So if you don't live by faith, you just wither and you become insular and you think about yourself. But to think about others, your arms are spread out and you reach out. And that was the thing that I loved about Juliana when she came here. She said, I want to know your stories, And the story here in our area, in northeastern South Dakota, is a beautiful one of many cultures that have merged together and form a community together. And we tried to get you down to like tribal headquarters so that you could learn the stories of the Dakota people. We tried to get you around to different areas that you could understand that we are a people that live together with this common bond of trying to serve each other and help each other. And I think that this is something that rural communities have just in their DNA, because if you don't work together in a small community and help each other, boy, there were some times, when you look back in history and people needed to help each other, they still need to help each other. I think to your point about COVID, sometimes there was this break during that period where everybody was, afraid. And now we've broken out of that. And I think that this experience, Juliana became the light in the bleak midwinter for us. And so it helped us plan for something and get excited about this person coming. Who is she and where is she from? And then all of a sudden she's here, and it's like you hold this candle in the darkness, and then you can be excited about that, you know, and you can learn from each other, you know. So, and that's what the Christian faith is too, you know,
Exactly
sharing,
right.
working together, and learning from each other, you know.
I was thinking about on the drive up here about how our diversity is such a strength that we sometimes lose track of, and we lost track of that a bit in the pandemic, right? I was recently listening to a pastor who leads one of our Spanish language congregations in a neighboring synod, and they're in the historic building of a Swedish Lutheran Church. And the congregation has been in that neighborhood for, I don't know, I think he said something like 180 years. But he said, we've always been a multilingual congregation. Mm-hmm. We just happened to be, in our inception, a Swedish and English church, and now we're a Spanish and English church. Mm-hmm. And so our diversity has this really, there's a strength there, especially when we give time for the curiosity to be contagious.
But Christ said, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
You know? And who's my neighbor?
Yes.
You know, and we're all neighbors, you see.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. Man, this is so fun, right? We should get together and do this more often. So I do want to say, like, to the congregations in South Dakota Synod who may be listening to this, to say this. You maybe don't know how important you are to the formation of the next generation of our leaders. Whether that leader be a pastor or a deacon or a synod authorized minister, that you have something unique to share, just like Grace here in Sisseton has something unique to share, that you do too. And so one of the reasons why I want to lift up these posts from the road, these stories, is to say that we all have these stories of growth that are happening in the midst of some really challenging times, right? Mm-hmm. But that growth is happening. And so maybe to close out, I want to ask, because this was new to me, and I've only been in the Synod 5 years, and so I didn't know this chapel existed. And when we came in, Deb was sharing that this comes from one of your predecessor congregations. Is that right?
One of the ones that merged together to become, as they closed down, then this is where the majority of their people came.
Okay, so again, and knowing that we're a diversity here, but also our heritage. So what is the heritage then? Is it all Norwegian? Are you?
Well, I'm an import, so I'm German, but most of the rest of them are more on that Norwegian side.
I'm half German too, so that's why they put us together on one bench. Yeah, right. Okay, so the congregations there was more than one congregation that formed Grace Sisseton?
Yes.
Were they all Norwegian?
Yeah, there were two congregations originally. There was Trinity Lutheran Church.
Okay.
And Goodwill Lutheran Church.
Goodwill, okay.
And after World War II, these young guys came home, and the population grew. Jane, Sunday school was just, the basements of both churches were full, right?
They had 2 sessions of Sunday school, and they would ring a bell from my office. Well, eventually they would ring a bell from my office to separate the two, so that the next group could come in and one group could.
So what they decided to do, they were both in the same synod.
Okay.
They decided to merge and become one church.
Sure.
And that has been a beautiful experience. And then as rural population and consolidation of agriculture occurred, then rural populations became smaller.
Sure.
And rural churches, some of them had to then find a new church home. And we've been blessed with rural church members coming in here and being strong members of Grace Lutheran Church, you see. All in part of this one body, even though they came from different places, you see.
Okay, so then the chapel that we're in right now, and if you're watching the video, then you'll see this lovely backdrop of this. In my German congregation growing up, we jokingly called it a Walter because it was an altar on the wall, right? But where is this from? Which congregation?
From Concordia.
This is from Concordia. So one of those congregations that kind of came in after the initial two. And Concordia, was that a Norwegian or is that a German? Because I'm used to that word kind of more.
That would be Norwegian.
That was Norwegian also. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, of course, Concordia College now is at university up in Moorhead. That's a Norwegian institution. Yeah. Okay.
One of the wonderful colleges of the church that we're blessed with.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Because the people that were of faith, the Lutheran faith, they wanted to have a place where their kids could go to school.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay. And so we've got some photos of different things around here, and I'm going to take the camera up and kind of highlight a few of these on the video. So if you want to see the chapel here at Grace Sisseton, you'll have to watch the video, everybody. So tell me about this stained glass window over here. Is that from one of the predecessor congregations?
They were just donated.
They were donated.
Both stained glass windows were just donated by a gentleman who had the windows in his possession.
Oh, wow.
They were
Okay.
donated by former Chief Justice David Gilbertson,
Okay.
former Chief Justice of the South Dakota Supreme Court.
Whose father was a pastor here for nearly 20 years.
Oh, that's lovely.
David grew up here in his early years, and then they
Okay. All right. Lovely. Wow, this is such a great room, and good to know a little bit of your history, and I think other South Dakota congregations will be glad to hear a little bit of your history.
We've all
too.
got a story.
We've all got a story. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. This is officially episode 2 of my posts from the road, and look forward to catching you on the next episode. If you have a story you want to share in your congregation or in your community, please do reach out to me. All right. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. And scene. Good. Hey, thank you so much, everybody. This was great.
Oh, you make that easy.
Oh, man. Well, you made it easy, too.
The only thing we were missing was a campfire.
I know, right? Yeah, it's good.